There we are. Peace, peace.
Yeah, that's so much better.
Now I see you. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, and you?
That's good. I'm fine. I'm great. I'm great. Um, First of all, thank you for doing this, for
All
joining
right.
us tonight. You have a lot of valuable information that I just wanted to share with everybody because your posts on Facebook, they're the truth, and it made me do a lot of research myself on tracing back my lineage to America, and I found some pretty interesting information. So, let me introduce you. First of all, my name is Callie Divine. I'm here with Get This Wisdom magazine, and we have the honor and privilege of interviewing Miss Kia Bay. You can introduce yourself, your chief name.
Okay, Chief
Yeah,
Hatha Nashoba, also known as Kiabe.
Chief Hatha.
Hatha Nashoba. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's Choctaw. That means white wolf.
Oh, nice, nice. Okay, so first of all, I just want you to tell the audience a little bit about yourself and about how you were able to trace back your specific ancestry.
Okay, alrighty. So, like most people that was born and raised in what we know as the United States, we were labeled um, colored, black, Negro, African American. However, as a child, most of us had questions because it just didn't make sense to us. It was like, I can look at my skin and it's clearly not black. So how am I black? And then its new label came. So we all had questions, but during the course of just wanting to get along or actually physically getting beat, we went on and accepted those labels. And so we grew up as adults. So that was my journey. I grew up like that, but I've always heard stories of having the indigenous ancestry in the bloodline. But again, like most of us, but we somehow skip over that. We don't pay attention to it. It became like an urban legend, within our communities. Why everybody say they got Indian in them. And then, of course, if we looked at the version of what they say are indigenous peoples from the Americas, particularly in North America, when we looked at ourselves, we didn't see that depiction. So that just helped us ignore what most of us really are. So, I got tired of that. And a lot of people always ask me, are you this? Are you that? And I'm looking at them like, no, what are you talking about? I'm black,
Right.
sounding all types of ignorant. But hey, that's my story. So I decided that I needed questions answered because if in fact I am African, I deserve to know what tribe. And it would be more than one tribe, it would be tribes, but I felt like I deserved to know where so I can connect with my people. And so I did DNA tests because a lot of times you have family feuds and people don't talk to people and don't have that rich history of knowing all your people and be able to research that way. So I had to skip ahead of the line and do a DNA test. And it came back and it was like, ooh, wow, okay, way more than what I expected. I'm just looking for Africa.
Right.
But I got a lot more. I got a lot more. And so I just dug and dig deeper and dig deeper and dig deeper and started asking questions. And I'm like, okay, listen, I need to really figure out what's going on. I'm not denying any of my ancestry, right? I got German and French and all the people that came here is there, but I had to go back to the root. And the root was the indigenous peoples here in the Americas. And the admixture came from the people that traveled over.
Right.
Um, so that's my story. I had to skip and do genetic testing. I went to a company that's not really well known. They don't deal with percentages because percentages are not accurate at all. And they have people skipping over a grandparent or two. Like if it says 0.1% Native American, they say, oh, well, that doesn't matter because they don't realize that it took a whole person
To create that
to
percentage.
contribute.
Yeah.
Right. So you can't just dismiss that person like they don't matter when they actually do matter.
Right.
So that's what I did. I actually grabbed my a picture of my DNA because I just don't like to talk. I like to show proof
Mhm.
of what I'm saying. So I use DNA consultants. So I don't know if you can you see that good enough?
I can. Yeah. I see it.
Okay, yeah. So my region was the Seminole Confederacy from Florida. And dealing with history, it makes sense. It makes sense. Actually, most of my bloodline started in South America.
Okay.
And then move their way up. A lot of the migration happened too around when the Moors got expelled. Well, not necessarily expelled, because it was more like a business deal. It was like, the last caliphate sold the kingdom. They gave them a year to get their stuff together and then actually move on.
Okay.
But you don't rule for that long and then move somewhere else and become servants. So a lot of them, when they came here, they went to battle with the tribes that were in South America.
Now you're referring to the Moors. They went to battle with the tribes. Oh, okay.
Yeah. You can find that information if you research Sephardic Jews.
Okay.
Because remember, they said the Moors and the Jews got expelled at the same time.
Okay.
So if you research Sephardic Jews, you'll find that story about how they battle, and then they established their kingdom.
Right.
So.
Okay.
So I am also I am also Berber, which would be more, not more-ish, but Egyptian Berber. So
is that where the name Bay came from? Your last name?
yeah, that's the homage to that portion of my ancestry.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's not Moorish. I'm not Moorish at all, and it's not. I don't have any religious affiliation, temple affiliation. It's just all bloodline for me.
Okay, and there is a difference between Moor and Moorish, just so we're clear.
Well, ish means like but not.
Okay. Right, I did
So
hear.
it's like, okay, I got the blackish car.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like it's black, but it ain't really black.
Right.
So yeah, so no, and then more is just a description.
Okay.
It's just a description for people, but it still comes down to what tribe, because there's Moors all around the world.
Right. Yeah.
From several tribes, so everything still just circles back to what is your tribe and or tribes.
Right. Now, when you refer to the term indigenous, what exactly do you mean for the viewers that
Okay,
do not?
so indigenous means you are the original people from whatever area that is. So whether it would be the Americas or whether it would be Asia, which is really the East, which they now call Africa and all of that.
Okay.
But we are most of us here in the Americas are actually indigenous to both sides, because we have indigenous bloods from both sides.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So either way you go, we're indigenous.
That's true. Very true.
Yeah.
All right. So, if we wanted to do the same as you, you would start with that DNA test that you got, right?
Well, it just depends on the tools that you have at your disposal. So if you have a rich history that you can get a hold of within your family, then
Uh-huh.
you can start the route that will not cost you money.
Okay.
But if you're like a lot of us that don't really have those connections like we used to, maybe grandma had all of those pictures or all of those stories and she's not here anymore to tell us.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to kind of start from our DNA and just kind of work ourselves, backwards.
Can you hold up that sheet of paper again? I just wanted to take a look.
Yeah.
I wanted to see how they label out. Let me see. Native American. Oh, okay, I see.
And it's the two alleles is from my father's side and from my mother's side. I did
Okay.
a autosomal. Now, normally they don't know if you do an autosomal. It's like a shuffle, and they don't really know if it's from your father or
Right.
your mother unless you have two alleles. Because if you have two alleles, then it comes from both sides.
Right.
And they also had said that, well, based upon my markers, that I was American Indian more than anything else.
Oh, okay.
Now you have some companies out there that'll put you on the boat because it's their agenda. However, because see, I've tested with many companies because then I can speak on it because I know from experience of what it is. If have never used it, I can't speak on it. But for instance, if you do ancestry.com, there's a pattern. Like if you study and you research them, they have a pattern of the results that they want. So I tested them, right? Because there's something called GED match.
Mm-hmm.
It's GED match. and you can get a hold of archaic DNA. So I went and did ancestry.com so that I can get to my raw data. Now on my raw data, they pretty much wanted to land me on the boat, right? However, I took my raw data and uploaded it to GEDmatch and traced it against archaic DNA, and I'm matching ancient Siberians, I'm matching the Anzac child, I'm matching the Kennewick man, like all of these ancient archaic DNA from the Americas.
Okay, awesome.
So, you know, they kind of play their games with whatever they want to do. But you can, if you want to do that with GEDmatch, I suggest 23andMe.
Okay.
They not much better, but from what research, they're a little bit better. Now, I prefer DNA consultants, to be quite honest. But if your money is tight, or if you want to utilize GEDmatch, it's either ancestry.com or 23andMe.
Okay.
Those are the only choices we have right now.
Okay, well, I'm definitely going to look into that myself.
Yeah, you can look on my site, indigenouspeoplesunited.org,
Okay.
and I actually posted the archaic genetic matches on if you clicked About Us.
Awesome. Yeah, I did have a short opportunity to look at your site, and it blew me away. I didn't have enough time to look through everything, but I will definitely. And
I know, because I loaded it.
Yeah, it's a whole bunch.
I didn't want anybody to come away confused, right?
Right.
I wanted to put as many links as possible to get people direction in how to start the process.
Okay. And I'll definitely pull that up before we finish.
Okay.
So being indigenous, are there any certain laws that govern or protect our tribes here?
Well, they have we're coming on the 10th year anniversary of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. However, the implementation process, a lot of indigenous people have problems with or have not implemented it, and a lot of them just don't know. Now we have a newly signed American Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples.
Okay.
So between those two things, you know, we have something to work with where it gives you a framework of the rights that's supposed to be honored and respected.
Right. Okay.
Right. But you know, it's the key is implementation and how do you enforce it, and if it's violated, where do you go and what do you do? Because you can have rights, but if you don't know how to implement the rights or you don't know how to enforce the rights,
Right.
you don't know who to report, you know, where to go to report the violation of the rights, and it's kind of like it's not going to do much.
Right. Now, is that all that framework laid out pretty clearly in the new laws that you were speaking about?
Yeah, it's pretty clear. It deals with the right to a nationality, because the truth of the matter is, although it may feel good to call yourself Black, which is a color, or African American, which is two continents, that still leaves you without a nationality.
Yeah.
And you have a right to a nationality. So you're left out. So if you don't have a nationality, then you are stateless. And no one is a United Statesian. There's no such thing.
Right.
Your nationality is actually the state that you were born in, which is each state is like their own mini nation.
Okay.
And that's why they have terms like Floridian, Ohioan, and things like that, because that literally is your nationality. And that's why on a lot of these forms, they always ask, where were you born?
Right. Okay. I never.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really, they always want to know, where were you born? Because they want to know what is your nationality. They're not telling you what it is.
Wow.
You know? Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Valuable information. So I have to kind of take some time to wrap my head around it and look into it a little further. But
now you said, now, if I can interview you for just a hot second, you said you did a little bit of digging into your ancestry. What did you come up with?
well, my family they live mostly down south, and they did a little digging. They did a little research, and at first we trace back our lineage to the Seminole Indians. But then I had a relative that went back a little bit further, and we found that we were a part of the Muskogee Creek Indian tribe. And
Okay, cool.
now I'm not sure how how close or how much Native American we have in our blood, but I know the other side of my family is also of um, slave descendants from Africa.
Well, okay, so you have the logs and the stories and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because slavery is not dependent upon so-called race. It's all
Yeah.
economics
Yeah, I
and
know.
greed. So because they took people from here and made them slaves on the other side as well.
Oh, okay.
And they also took people from here, took them off the shore, and reintroduced them onto the land as being from Africa.
Really? Really?
Well, yeah, okay. If you watch 12 Years a Slave, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the very beginning, you'll see these people just chilling, enjoying themselves because they was free.
Mm-hmm.
Now they hid them in the basement because again, these were free people. They put them on a boat to go down south.
Mm-hmm.
They put them on a boat to go down south, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they put them in the waters, and when they put them back on the land, they was now slaves. And they made him not talk the way that he normally talked, like educated, and so that the people would believe that he were just like them.
Right.
So yeah, so that little portion tells a lot about what actually happened here. Because a
Okay.
lot of those, you have to remember that a lot of those, not to say that there wasn't any slaves that came from Africa,
Mm-hmm.
but we're all just guessing when it comes to that. Because again, we're using their manifestos,
Sure.
and they can tweak it however they want. So when we do research, we'll say, oh, well, wait a minute. But it say that we were slaves. Okay, that's just a title. Slave is just a title. And if you are already crooked and you're not supposed to enslave the indigenous population, of course you're going to put them in as a slave. Of course
Mm-hmm.
you're going to say that they came from Africa, but people rarely even ask is what tribe.
Where'd you come
What
from?
tribe?
Mm-hmm.
It's always, oh well, Nigeria, Ghana, whatever. Okay, listen, let's look at a map and let's say which will be the closest destination to get from that side to this side. So it could have been people coming from North Africa
Right.
that could have been funneled down into wherever the port was where they were shipping everybody out. But what tribe? You just don't get people and then don't make a ledger of what tribe they come from.
Right. And it's something I never really even thought about, but yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, they never give you that. They never give you the tribes,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
Africa is a continent. It's huge
Right.
with massive amounts of tribes.
Mm-hmm.
And some tribes was never enslaved.
Right. Yeah. I do know that.
Yeah.
Now, when we're speaking about the tribes that are here that are portrayed on TV, I actually just turned the TV on the other day, and they
Mhm.
were rallying about the government that was trying to put water pipes through their land, through their
Yeah.
reservations. And this is a two-part question. Most of those Native Americans now look like what um, the media has portrayed as like Pocahontas. They're very fair skinned, very long, straight, curly hair. Now, could you please tell us, is that an accurate representation of how the indigenous Americans looked, our ancient ancestors looked?
Okay. So that I'm not coming off, with just me speaking and my thought process and belief system, I would read what Benjamin Franklin said. And then from that point, we can have a discussion about what he said.
Okay.
So this, so the source is Benjamin Franklin observation concerning the increasing of mankind, peopling of countries, and this was printed in 1755.
Okay.
And it says, I'm not going to read all of it. I'm just going to get to the gist of it. It said, and since detachments of English from Britain sent to America will have their places at home so soon supply and increase so largely here, why should the Palatine Boers, Germans, be suffered to swarm into our settlements? and by herding together, establishing their language and manners to the exclusion of ours. Why should Pennsylvania, founded by the English, become a colony of aliens who would shortly be so numerous as to Germanize us instead of our Anglifying them, and will never adopt our language or customs any more than they can acquire our complexion? Now, this is the English saying they can't acquire their complexion, which leads me to add one remark, that the number of purely white people in the world is proportionately very small. All Africa is black or tawny, Asia chiefly tawny, America, exclusive of the newcomers, wholly so. So America was tawny.
Wow.
You're tawny, I'm tawny, pretty much copper color. And in Europe, the Spaniards, Italian, French, Russians, and Swedes are generally of what we call a swarthy complexion. Swarthy with what they call them black.
Okay.
So black, tawny, and swarthy are all the same ranges of complexions that so-called African Americans have.
Mm-hmm.
As are the Germans also. The Saxons only accepted, with the English make the principal body of white people on the face of the earth. I could wish their numbers were increased. And while we are, as I may call it, scouring our planet by clearing America of woods and so making the side of our globe reflect a brighter light
Mm-hmm.
to the eyes of inhabitants in Mars or Venus, why would we, in the sight of superior beings, darken its people? Why increase the sons of Africa by planting them in America? Now let's pause. If he is so against increasing the sons of Africa and darkening the tiny people any more than they are already dark,
Mm-hmm.
why would they start shipping in slaves from Africa?
Wow.
Since they were so against increasing the sons of Africa.
Hmm.
Yeah, it said, where we have so fair an opportunity by excluding all blacks and tawnies of increasing the lovely white and red. But perhaps I am partial to the complexion of my country, for such kind of partiality is natural to mankind.
Mm-hmm.
So, not my words.
George Washington.
Ain't he one of the founding fathers?
Wow.
Yeah, so that tells you, and plus in the 1828 dictionary, Webster dictionary, it says copper color races, the copper color races.
I did read that. Yeah.
You know, they have literature. Yeah, they have literature out there, but so let's say that you go somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not really your home, but you want to get a piece of the pie. The first thing you're going to do is sire a child with someone from that place,
Mm-hmm.
because they have laws that they put on the books, the Indian woman, and the rights to the property and so on and so forth.
Right.
So what they did was they mixed in with the bloodline. Now, if you mix in with the bloodline and the sole purpose is to lighten up that particular race, then you're going to instill a certain mindset in that child that is
Mm-hmm.
only going to have a child by someone who is their complexion or lighter, and then there you go. I don't know what the ancestry is of the ones that's portrayed, nor do I care.
Right.
And the reason why I say that is because I'm just solely focused on what's happening with me.
Right.
But I mean, we do know that the a lot of the tribes, what they call federally recognized, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're federal corporations. When they had the Native American Reorganization Act, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them real corporations. Now, only corporations reorganize. You know,
Okay.
doesn't that sound familiar to Chapter 11, reorganization, and so on and so forth? Corporations reorganize. You know, tribes don't reorganize. What you need to reorganize for, you've been tens of thousands of years here.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, of course, they're going to spotlight the ones that they have full control over.
Right. That makes sense.
You know, and to be quite honest, it's their media. They can spotlight whoever they want.
Right.
But you have to ask yourself if they are of the original stock, and if they are recognized as the original stock, then why aren't they being respected?
Yeah, and that's another part to this question. Um, it doesn't appear that the government takes them seriously at all. So, do you think they have a chance at being successful in keeping them off of their reservation, or?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that they don't take them seriously. They do take them seriously.
So,
But what they take seriously most importantly is those contracts they sign.
okay.
So, you can't go into signing the contracts and all of a sudden you want to say this and that.
Okay.
I would say that they need to have a discussion of the people that signed those contracts for them and ask them, what exactly did you sign?
Gotcha. It's the contract.
I need to read this stuff so that I can know, so I won't be out here wasting my time.
Right.
Because if you signed, I know I glimpsed at one of the treaties, and it had spoke about the ability to put a railroad through there, so on and so forth,
Mm,
whatever, what have you. But that was just only what was available to the public eye.
right. Okay.
So I have no idea about the portion that's not available, and I don't have an idea about what contracts are signed once you go to the recognition process, because the truth of the matter is the indigenous peoples first recognized the pilgrims. You don't then come back and ask the pilgrims to recognize you.
Right.
That is for people that have more so European descent, that's claiming to be indigenous to the land, but now they have to bring in all their paperwork to show their connection to the land.
Okay.
They know our connection to the land.
Mhm.
They got our bones. They got our artifacts. You can see our pictures etched up on walls. Um, you can go to the Temple Mask in Belize and see, what they call the Olmecs
Mhm.
that was chiseled
Right.
in stone. So yeah, what recognition? They already got our recognition. We are historically recognized.
Okay. Gotcha. Um. So, what do you have to say to those that are adamant that? Well, you actually kind of partially answered this question. The ones that are adamant about us Africans coming strictly over on the boat from the transatlantic slave trade. Now, you already touched. You said that we were here. We were probably on every continent already. But is there any proof, that we most of us did not come from the slave trade?
Yeah, it's in all the documents. But see, what a lot of people don't want to do is they don't want to read. They don't want to take the time. I mean, I just read, I just read information that lets you know what the people look like.
Right.
But then I asked the question. I said, okay, well, did everybody came on the boat? What have you? Whatever. I'm not even gonna go into the logistics about it. I'm not even gonna speak about the fact that these people had just came from battling the Moors, so they was broke,
Mm-hmm.
and it costs money to get people from here to there.
Mm-hmm.
Who was here? Like, who was here?
Mm-hmm.
Who
Right.
was the millions of inhabitants that was here? And from a business perspective, it would make more sense to enslave the people that's already here versus import somebody to come over.
Wow. Yes, that is so
So
true.
you got millions of people that you skipped over and say, well, you know what, we ain't gonna enslave them, right?
All the way over there.
We just gonna ignore them. So we don't have no control over them, right? So they pretty wild, but we don't care. So we're gonna import some people from Africa, bring them over here, and then start our little stuff. But we still got wild folks over here doing whatever.
Yeah, I
It just
heard.
don't it really just don't make any sense, whatever.
No, you're right.
It just don't make sense. So, but I tell them, I say, okay, that's fine. If they're adamant that they're black, I tell them wonderful. But
Mm-hmm.
can you just answer a few questions for me? Like what tribe? Because I
Right.
want to be able to have a cultural conversation with you. So can we speak about some of the tribes you come from?
Mm-hmm.
Usually there's a blank stare. Or if they say I'm African, I say, well, that's wonderful. Again, what tribes?
Right.
And then the excuse is, well, we don't have no way of knowing. No, that's not really true. You do have ways of knowing. You just have to want to know.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they can be whatever they choose to be. You know, like that's not my fight. That's not my battle. You know, they can say that we all came on a slave ship if that's their truth. I know different from my particular bloodline.
Right. Have you found any special like benefits or perks of belonging to a certain bloodline or a certain tribe? Because I know there are a few where they give scholarships to school if you belong to like a certain federally recognized tribe. But does that apply to
You
us?
mean you mean federal corporation?
Yes. Yeah.
Because
Corporation.
remember they reorganized. And matter of fact, I posted that information on my page. They reorganized into federal corporations. So what people deemed as benefits is crumbs. Okay, say for instance, right, we're indigenous to the Americas. The Americas is a continent,
Right.
huge, with millions upon millions of acres of land, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you want to be federally recognized because you want to get a few little trinkets. And then they put you on a reservation and
Mm-hmm.
they put you on something about this small and you don't even own it. So you don't gave up everything else,
Mm-hmm.
right? By your own choice and by contract, you don't gave up claim to everything else. So those little scholarships are they really doing anything for them? Because they're going to give them a scholarship to end up where working for who?
Right. You're right.
The plantation. So
Wow.
again, who's really benefiting?
They are.
I mean, you have people on these reservations where the elders are not even eating properly because normally when it comes down to the finances, they have what they call a wasichu handling that. You know, someone of European descent is
Okay.
handling the finances. So it never truly funnels down to where it needs to get to.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it did, these reservations, which are just like projects, because the ghetto and the projects are the urban reservations, because they had a Native American Urban Relocation Act, where they had some of the people leave the reservations and move into the urban cities.
Mm-hmm.
So these projects in these ghettos, those are reservations for indigenous peoples.
Wow.
And because it's the same exact scenario. Everything you live in a space that the government owns,
Mm-hmm.
just like the reservation. You got poverty, just like the reservation.
You're getting
You
government.
got violence and drugs, just like the reservation. It is literally a reservation. It just was never um, advertised as that. But you have to look into when was these projects set up? How was they set up?
All right.
And then you have to look into the Native American Urban Relocation Act.
Wow.
You know, why? And the purpose was to get them off of the reservation where they had some type of cultural ties, throw them into the urban environment where they would get swallowed up by the dominant culture.
Mm-hmm. Make them forget their culture. Yep.
And so that's why you have indigenous people that I can look at, clearly see that they're indigenous, and they sit up there like, no, I'm African, or no, I'm black. And you can't tell them nothing.
Right. That's true.
Like you can't tell them nothing because they will get upset. Some of them get to the point of violence, or some of them will say, well, oh, you think you're better than us, or you're not proud of your ancestry. And it's like, I'm very proud of my ancestry, all of it,
Mm-hmm.
including the European side.
Mm-hmm.
But I just know that what you're talking about has nothing to do with ancestry. I get the emotional connection to the word.
Right.
I get the prideful connection to the word. I get all that because that's what most of us would claim that title because of love for our people and pride. But outside of those emotions, it makes no sense because if Black had power, why are you still shouting about it all these years later?
Mm-hmm.
To be intellectual and you have to look at the results. You know, and no one has sat down and said, well, wait a minute, we're not getting favorable results. What are we doing wrong? You can't go to law and ask for some type of they love to say reparations too. We want some reparations without knowing what reparations is. No, you need to be talking about redress. And if you say you a descendant of slaves, you ain't getting either of those things because slaves don't get compensated.
Because they're still property. Yeah.
Prisoners of war do. Indigenous peoples that's been wronged can get redress. But colors,
Flag.
slaves, two continents, no, it's just not going to work because they need to realize that the language that you use among your people is not the language that you use in every single arena. You cannot use those languages in law because it's going to end you in the same results that you currently have.
So
and even let's deal with indigenous. Okay, so let's deal with the title of a lot of these groups being put on to terrorist lists, right? And they say, well, you know, they doing this wrong, blah 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 blah. Well, let's just think about this. You call yourself a color. You call yourself two continents. You ain't got no nationality. You stateless. You full of anger. We can do whatever we want with you. You drifting in the sea somewhere. You ain't got no roots.
Kind of like a refugee. Yep.
Yeah. So we can do whatever we want. We can detain you for however long we want. We can list you or whatever we want. But okay, let's change this paradigm. You don't recognize your indigenous roots. Now you are indigenous people speaking about the things and the tragedy that's happening to indigenous people. Oh, okay. Well, we can understand that one because we all know about the doctrine of discovery. We all know about so-called Christopher Columbus and his so-called discovery of the Americas and what's happening to the indigenous peoples and about the tribes that don't got killed and became so-called extinct because DNA does not go extinct at all. Now it's a different story. Now it's a different dialogue.
Right. I hear.
Because how many times do you hear about an indigenous person got killed in the news?
I haven't heard one yet.
Right. But they'll show you somebody that think they're a color. They'll show them laying in the street bleeding. Because they're not a part of the human family.
Wow.
They won't show you a dog laying in the street bleeding like that, will they?
No.
Okay.
Wow.
So since you want to be a fictitious character, then this is just, you know, it's fine. It's not inhumane to show those types of images by the person's own admission when they call themselves that. And that's why they need to look at the results and say, wait a minute, why is this? Why is this? Why is this? But then back it up and say, oh, okay, that's why. That's why they do that to us.
Everything you said, so powerful. And it inspired me to go do a little bit more digging. Are there any books that you can recommend for us to just start with, like even with the history of America?
I have so many links on my page. I would say start with my website, indigenouspeoplesunited.org.
Let me pull that up right now. You can just briefly explain it for a sec.
You might have to mute it because it'll play some music.
I know. I figured it out. 1 sec.
Okay.
All right, we're on. I went straight to the About Us page because the home page does play music.
Right. And so if you go down the About Us page, then you can get a glimpse of what that jet match looks like.
Okay. Can you see this also?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. Keep on scrolling down. There it is.
So you'll see that the Denisovan and okay, so let's go to the Clovis. So the Clovis are like the Clovis people.
Okay.
So we're talking about 12,000, 15,000 years ago.
I see. Wow.
And then when you go down to, it's on the second page. The second page, you'll see like Bot 15 and Bot 17 in Brazil. Now, that comes from a so-called extinct tribe, but you know, I'm here. That's my DNA right there. But and then you see the Kennewick DNA.
Right here.
Yeah. So
Oh,
that's what you'll see if you do the jet match.
wow. So first you have to do the ancestry DNA, and then you go and send the results to them to GETmatch.
Yeah, or you upload it. And right now they're only doing like ancestry.com or 23andMe. But if you're gonna spend $99 on either one of those, I suggest 23andMe.
20.
And like, don't trip if you get results back and it doesn't say that you're indigenous, because you're going to test it up against the archaic DNA.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
What else do we have here?
Yeah. But if you go to the videos, now this speaks about the Anzic Cloud. Matter of fact, I sent that doctor a email to let her know that, you know, she says that they don't have much DNA for, you know, Native Americans in the Americas. However, there is a overlooked population that they call African American. Now, I know someone from IUT, right, from Haiti, and he has several tribal matches in the Americas, and you know, on the mainland. And he used DNA consultant.
Okay.
Because he used the other company. I told him not to, but he, you know, he young, he wouldn't do his own thing. They put him on a boat, but he used his other company that doesn't deal with percentages and stuff, and that's when he started to find the truth.
Wow.
Video section, there's tons of videos to give a idea of a direction.
Okay.
Of to kind of make sense of everything. And then we have videos and just a ton of links too, a ton of links.
Oh, well, this would be the place that I'll be starting then.
Yeah, you could just start there, and they have links. I have a link about Walter Plecker.
Okay.
And the paper genocide when it comes to that. Also the tribe in Virginia that was seeking recognition, and all they had was colored birth certificate. The birth certificate that said colored.
Right.
So yeah.
Can you kind of speak about that for a second now? Yeah, the birth certificate.
Oh, Walter Plecker?
No, the birth certificates.
Okay, well the birth certificates which aspect?
The part that says color, if you go back to which generation, would it be the grandparents? And if it says colored, that means that we have indigenous ancestry here.
Quite possibly, yeah, because what they did was anybody that wasn't European was colored.
Oh yeah, right.
So they lumped us all in the same category and said, okay, you're colored. It really, colored Negro is the same thing.
Okay.
But certain states favored the label colored over Negro. Now, what I've noticed is a lot of the northern states use the terminology Negro, and the southern use colored.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's me. So up here, right? Okay, if you start, no, like go over
here.
Start with the guy with the feather.
Okay.
Okay, so go over one. That's my great grandfather right there.
Oh, okay.
And then the lady, that's my mother.
Okay. And this is you.
And that's me. Yeah.
Nice. And these are all members of different tribes.
Yeah. This is on the second row is Chief Kalinago. Yeah, with the headdress. Yeah, and that's his mother.
Okay.
Yeah, he's from Dominica, and these are other Kalinago next to him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then the next picture down is when we was at the UN.
Oh, nice. I know you do travel. Definitely travel.
Yeah. Not as much as I would like to.
I'm gonna start looking into.
I need to get over to Angkor Wat.
Okay.
see some
So
of our sculptures.
this is your website. You put this all together yourself, right?
Me and Chief Kalanago, yes.
Nice. Do you have anything coming up? Anything special that you're planning or working on?
Mm, not right now. I'm just basically working to build the foundation. I'm trying to see if I can attend the UN when they're having a forum on Indigenous people. So I'm hopefully get approved for that. But that's a process. So
Hmm. Okay. Well, I
yeah.
thank you so much for sharing that information with us.
You're
Um,
welcome. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just laying the groundwork. I've already gotten the organization listed on their organizational list, the UN. So, but I have to wait to meet the criteria to apply for consultative status. So,
okay.
I'm just trying to, lay the foundation, lay the groundwork so that Indigenous peoples that fell victim to misclassifications and genocidal acts, our next generation will know who they are.
Right.
Now they can know who they are and then still choose to be whatever they want to be, but at the very least they'll know who they are. And right now we really don't have that. But the majority of us don't have that. There are some of us that always had that,
Mm-hmm.
but the majority of us, we just don't have that.
Right. You're doing a lot of great work, and we definitely appreciate it and respect it. And your
No,
website
thanks.
is www.indigenouspeoplesunited.org, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Peoples United. Okay. I would.
Yeah.
I'll be looking on that website first thing in the morning because you have a
Yeah.
ton of videos I have to get through.
Yeah. It's a lot, and it's the UNDRIP is on there. I think I put the American Declaration in there as well.
Okay.
Um, the links go to reputable sites,
Okay.
because I'm like, law is my thing, so I had to make sure the stuff is reputable.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of links, and the most important thing for our people to know is that you have the right to resurrect your tribe, because a lot of problems that our people was having was, because we are so family orientated, right? We
Mm-hmm.
find our people, we be so happy, and we want to be welcome. And they were saying, okay, I'm Cherokee.
Mm-hmm.
I found this, I found that, and they will go to these federal corporations, right,
Mm-hmm.
called federally recognized tribes, and the people will turn them away and they will reject them, and so that they will feel lost and they will feel devastated and hurt and like, what can I do? And then they will go back to being Black or African American.
Mm-hmm.
Establish your own, because you already have a tribe. It's called your family,
Mm-hmm. So true.
and it's called your community.
Yep.
Yeah. So establish your own, because all of these tribes had to be established by somebody.
That's very true. Mm-hmm.
So establish your own so that your family can can thrive and be viable, and you don't have to worry about knocking on somebody's door and being turned away.
All right. It's Jewel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you again. And
You're welcome.
I want you to have a beautiful night.
All
Like I
righty.
said, everybody, please visit www.indigenousepeoplesunited.org. And this is Chief Hatha. Say that last part again.
Nashoba.
Nashoba. Hatha Nashoba. And
Yeah.
this is Callie Devine with Get This Wisdom Magazine. And good night.
All righty. Peace, love, light.
Peace.